Hey guys, my name is Jason with Mount Baker Mining and Metals, and on today's video, we're going to take some of these caps and explosives, we're going to go up to the gold mine, drill out a round, and blast it. Now we got to get all this air hose and one of those oilers out there by our face, that snow patch there, and get her hooked up to the little compressor here, and then we can go drilling. Get her hooked up to the water, get some steel out there, and one of these jack legs. And we'll go drill some holes. Okay, we're all set up at the face. The green is water, the yellow is air. I got my machine hooked up. Now let's get her started. The drill I'm using is a Gardner Denver FL83 rock drill. And it's powered with that air compressor we saw earlier. It's a 185 CFM compressor. And the green line connecting to the drill is the water line. That supplies water through the drill, and it gets pushed by the water needle down through the drill steel, which is hollow, into the bottom of the hole. And the water keeps the dust down and runs the cuttings out of the hole. The leg is pneumatically powered as well, and I have controls up on the drill for both the speed of the drill and the pressure on the leg, both of which can be adjusted. And the machine weighs about 120 pounds. Most of the work is done by the leg, but moving the drill around and pulling it out of the holes can be quite the job. The end of the steel has a button bit on it. What we use are button bits, but it has several buttons of a very hard abrasion resistant material on the end, and that's what does the actual drilling of the hole. And the machine will hit the steel into the hole and turn the steel a quarter turn, and so that's how the machine actually drills the holes. I'm working right now on the burn cut, so we'll take a closer look at that here once I get that drilled out, and I'll explain why I've drilled the holes in the locations I have. All right, I stopped for a little lunch and wanted to give you guys a little tour of what's going on here. So I've pretty much finished with my cut here. And on some of my older videos, I'm getting the right spot here. Some of my previous videos, you guys really wanted to know more about drilling patterns and drilling and blasting and stuff. So this is the way I was taught. There's a couple different ways of doing it. But I got my 5 holes here. They roughly look like a 5 on a dice. And the center hole here is the 0 hole, so that doesn't get loaded with any explosives or anything. Oh, flies. And so that'll be our 0 hole. And then you load 1, 2, 3, 4. The caps are numbered in sequence, and so you want them to go off in sequence. And the whole point of this burn cut here is the 0 hole, you got to have somewhere for the first shot to blast to. So this is going to be our number 1 hole, and I drilled it pretty close to the 0 hole. So when that one blasts, the shock and the gases have somewhere to break to. And then this will be number 2 probably.
number 3, and number 4. And then by the time all 4 of those go, you'll have a big hole right there. And so for the next couple, then I can come back and I'll probably put one up here and one down over here somewhere. I'll do 4 and make kind of a box there, blast the corners in, and then I can really start opening this thing up. And so I'll get those done. And the other thing I'm going to do, it's hard to tell on the camera, but where the burn cut is back about 2 feet from this edge. And so I think I'm going to keep those at 4 foot depth. And out here I'll do 6. So when it all blasts, the face will be flat in the back. But because if I do them all at 6, I'm going to have a little whoop-de-doo in the back or in the face. And I don't want that. I want when it's shot and done, I want a nice flat back, a flat face about 4 feet from the collar of the burn cut there, and then a flat floor, a couple of ribs. Hopefully the quartz stays on this side, and then we can kind of see what we got. But anyway, there's like a little bit of a lesson on drill pattern and the cut here. Like I said, I'll do 4 more, and then I'll get them really opened up, and I'll show you guys when I'm done here. Another thing I'll mention here is you may have seen in a couple of shots I had this PVC in there. And you want to have your burn cut especially kind of all be parallel with each other. I mean, all the holes should be, but you can use the PVC as kind of a guide. You have a 3-dimensional problem here. You want the holes to be more or less parallel, because that first hole is important to be 2 or 3 inches at the collar and at the bottom of the hole to be 2 or 3 inches off the bottom of your 0 hole. Because if it wings off out this way, you're too far away from your 0 hole to blast into it. So the burn cut especially, the holes all need to be about parallel, about running all the same way. And the goal is the collar of the holes, right where it goes into the rock, and the back of the holes should be about the same distance away from each other, so you can blast out that middle section and then have somewhere for all the rock to go. And when I do my burn cut, or my cut there, I keep the leg in the same spot. So I haven't moved the leg for any of those holes, and I can get them all pretty much where I want them. And now that all 5 of those are in there, then I can start moving the leg. You know, I'll have to move the leg 6 or 8 inches, 10 inches over here to get these holes over on this side, and then back over here and to get the face. Because there again, you want all the holes to be more or less parallel with each other. And so I got to move the leg, because if I keep it all in one spot, they're going to start winging out sideways and up and down and around. So I gotta move around and make sure it all stays parallel with each other. All right, we got our round drilled out. And I started at noon, and it's about 4 o'clock now, so it took me 4 hours. But I am dog tired. That is hard work every year. That first round, man, it always kills you. But let's go look at our face behind me here. Here's our face, and right here's our burn. That's those 5. That looks like a 5 on a dice. There's a 0, 1, 2, 3, and probably 4. And then I got a hole down here, there. Those will be the next 2. Then I got one up here. That'll really open up that hole there. I've got one up here, 2 for the back here. Oh no, let's see, where am I at? Oh, those 2, and then this one and that one up there are the back. So I'm going to open up this whole face here. Then I got this one and one down here, and that'll have this whole thing opened up. I got one over here, one down here, a couple below, and then 1, 2, 3 lifters. And the 3 lifters are the bottom 3. Those will go last, and that kind of blasts all the muck up and out of the hole. But yeah, we'll load the burn, and then I'll probably start shooting 2 or 3 of these together. So I'm going to walk you through kind of the whole process of loading, kind of how I do it, how I was taught, and we'll get this loaded and shot and see what we got. All right, well, today we're going to be using some stick powder, 18-inch sticks, and some non-electric, they're called Easy Dets. These are really, really slick. When I started, we were using numbers, and you had to match all the numbers. And these things, the sequence is how you hook them up. So I'll show you that too. But this is what we're going to do, and we're going to load these in the hole, and that'll be our explosives. So as mentioned previously in the video, I have a 5-hole cut here, and the middle hole right in the middle, I'm going to leave empty, and that's going to give space for our first shot to go to. And then as that opens up, the sequential shots are going to make that hole bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we can start really blasting stuff into this hole. And to get these things loaded, you take your cap and your stick, and you can shove it in the bottom there. So now you got your cap and your stick. And our number 1 hole is going to be the top one because it's the closest to the 0 hole or the burn cut. So you put the cap at the bottom of the hole. You shove that stick in there and use a non-sparking rod. I'm going to use PVC. And shove it down to the bottom. Tamp it in nice and tight. Then we'll take a couple more sticks to fill the hole up. Yeah, I got room for one more stick in there. You want to load the burn really good to make sure it opens up a nice hole. All right, so that's what we call our number 1 hole. Now we'll take another cap and another stick. And like I mentioned, you always take your cap and you put it at the bottom, so when that cap fires, it blasts everything out, because if you put them right at the beginning of the hole, it blasts everything back in the mountain, and you don't want that. You want everything going out and away. So we got our number 1. Here's our number 2 hole. We'll make that one fire second. And I took it's called a spoon. I took a spoon before I loaded, and I made sure each one of these holes was clear. Sometimes you'll get a little piece of rock or something that falls down in a hole, and then you can't get your sticks all the way to the back. But I took that spoon and cleared every one of these holes, so they're all ready. There's 2. Now we'll blast these next 2 holes together. And again, it's all how you set up the sequence. All right, getting our rat's nest going here. Like I was mentioning, it just depends on how I hook these up for the order they go in. But before, when I first started working in the mine, we had numbers. And so you had to make sure you got 1 in the 1 hole, 2 in the 2 hole, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10, 11. You had to make sure you're doing it right. Where now I'm just going to load every hole, and then I can hook them up in the sequence I want them to blast. Okay, I got everything loaded. Now I'll show you the hookup process. I got to tame this rat's nest here. So the way these work is this tube has a little bit of explosives in it. And my 0, or my detonator cap, I'm going to tape onto this tube. And I'll show you that at the end. And when I hook it up to the battery, it's going to blast this tube. And it's going to send a signal down both ways. One's going to go to the bottom of the hole, and the other one's going to go to this cap. There's a little cap in this clip. So I'm going to take my number 1 hole here, and I'm going to hook it on to the number 2 hole and clip the tube in there like that. So now when this one fires, it's going to send a signal down at the bottom of the hole and down to this one as well. Now these are delays, and I can't remember, it's like 200 milliseconds or 100 milliseconds. These all go really fast. So when, hopefully if I can get a video of the shot, you'll see the whole face go bah, 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 and that sends all the signals down to the bottom of the holes, and the bottom of the hole caps are delayed like 5.5 seconds. So it wants to make sure that all the signals all over the round get to the bottom of the hole before the bottom of the hole starts to blast. So it'll go bah, 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 all over the face, and then about 3 or 4 seconds later, it'll go boom, 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 and it'll blast the whole face round out. So I got to make sure I get these in order. So there's number 1 connected to number 2. Now I'm going to do these 2 holes at the same time. So I'm going to connect the next 2, which are both going to be number 3. So I can clip those in. That'll send the signal at the same time down to the bottom of the hole. Okay, so those are good. I think it goes better if I suck all these up to the face so they're out of the way. Remember which ones I've done. That one's done. That one's clipped in there. So now I've got these 2. These are both my number 3. See, again, imagine it's in the dark. It's cold. It's the end of shift. There's water running down your back. You got to make sure all these are clipped in the right way. So there's 3. Here's number 4. That's going to shoot next. So I'm going to clip both of these on there. So there's number 4. Now I'm going to shoot this one. This is our number 5 hole. So let's see, there's number 4. So that gets clipped onto number 5. And number 5 will get clipped on to number 6. And let's do this one next. 7. Now I'm going to do these 2 together, this hole and this hole, as 8. There we go. And then we'll do 9 here. So that one's been shot. And then we'll do 10. Let's see, let's do that one and that one together. So those will both be 10. Okay, so now our next one is here, and I'll shoot this one together. So these are our 11s. And then we've got a couple down here. Then we'll go that one and that one together. And then there's 3 lifters at the bottom I showed you earlier. We're going to shoot all 3 of those at the same time. So we can hook all 3 of those up together. Okay, now we have 3. We have 3 that aren't hooked up to anything. Those are our last 3 lifters. If there's any other ones that aren't hooked up in here, I did something wrong, and I got to go back and check. I don't see any. I'm going to take a minute and just go over and make sure every number is where I want it, and then we'll get this thing ready to blow. All right, so here's my electric. This is what's going to set off the initial blast here, and it's connected to 2 copper wires. I'm going to set it off with a battery. You always shunt all your wires while you're doing this so there's no stray electric current. Now I find our number 1 hole, which is right here. There we go. So I got the cap in there. The tip is pointed right at the tube of the number 1. So it's going to send a signal down to the number 1 and start the chain reaction on the outside here. You also want to make sure this is pointing away from all the other caps. If possible here. There we go. That way it doesn't accidentally hit another tube and screw up the whole sequence. All right, let's shoot this thing. Holy moly. I guess I read the numbers wrong. There's a couple different types of caps I have. One is a very, very short delay. The other one's a much longer one. Ones are called handy debts and the other are called easy drifters. And I guess I misinterpreted the numbers on the box when I grabbed them this morning. But anyway, it looks like it did a huge boom there all at once. There's hardly, so what happened is the signal between the outside caps and the inside caps is super, super small. So when I shot it, it just sounded almost like a good boom, just a huge boom. I haven't looked at the video yet, but wow, that was a big boom there. Let's go see what it looks like. Yeah, there you go, easy debts. 25 millisecond delay on the small end, or the outside cap. 350 millisecond delay on the one at the bottom of the hole. So those things go real fast. Whoa. Massive destruction. Now I need to get an excavator in here or something to clear that out. I got some big donagers came down. It's kind of tricky sometimes, especially on the surface when you're shooting along a fault or a seam, because the rock's all ravelly and kind of broken up. So I need to get in here and clear all this off with an excavator, bolt it all up, make it secure before I do anything else. But we'll go in and take a look at the vein. There's quartz laying all over the place here. Other big pieces. So there's that vein. It's kind of doing a little belly thing here, and it's getting pretty fat down there. But as it goes up into this little seam, it pinches way out. And then as you look up the hill, it starts to swell out again as it goes up the hill. So there's a little turn in here where it's pinching. But hopefully as we get in there farther, that big fat section will work, come down, and we can access that underground and then start stoping up on it and get up to the surface there where it's real nice and fat. But yeah, that was quite exciting. That hit a lot harder than I wanted it to, probably. It just shattered everything around there. Oh. But we'll get her cleaned up and bolted up and keep going. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching our video. We accomplished what we wanted to, maybe a little more than we wanted to, actually. We got a bigger boom than I think we needed. But again, I think it worked well. I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit about blasting today. Oh, flies. And yeah, follow us in the future for more mining videos. I'm going to keep going on this thing and see where it goes. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.